In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, welcome to another Monday, another session of lessons from my mother. We are on lesson number 12. Um, so, this lesson starts with a small story from, shall we say, 1960s Pakistan. Um, Independent for only 13 years, Pakistan in the 60s, detaching itself from 5,000 plus years of Indian and Hindu civilization, um, just coming out of 200 odd years of colonial imposition and rule, um, and tying itself to a Middle Eastern or Muslim perspective of how the country should be run or how the populace should be governed, because it was particularly designed to give the Muslims of India their own nation state. So some practices might be practices that you find in India, others may be practices that you find in the Islamic world. Um, some may be remnants of the colonial empire, as we see all across the world. Um, so, and most of those practices continue even today. My mother's aunt, her father's sister, was married to a prayer mat. A prayer mat. Now, for those of you who don't know, my prayer mat is over there. Shall I go get it? No, it's fine. She was married to a prayer mat. Not a person, a prayer mat. Living here in Canada, in the West, um, it's incredibly difficult to imagine. In England, I've grown up in England, it's incredibly difficult to imagine that as a reality. But that was her reality. My mom says that she'd just be praying on the mat. If you've seen any Muslim anywhere, you've seen a prayer mat where we put it on the floor and we pray on it. Um, my mother's aunt would be folding it and cleaning it and placing it here, and she was married to the prayer mat or to the act of this prayer. That was her life. A very famous actress from India, Aishwarya Rai, was first married to a tree, and then married to her now husband, Abhishek Bachchan, because she was thought to have a negative or problematic, um, how should I frame it? Manglik is the term in Sanskrit, I think, but she was assumed to have a negative aura, or um, I don't know the word. In English, we don't use these words. Aura would be the right word, but also the consequences of that aura. So she brought bad luck ish. Bad luck is an understatement. So she was married to the tree or something of the like, I can't remember, and then married. These practices are prevalent even today. You see people married to a book, the Quran. You see women married to a book. Incidentally, it's mostly women. I don't recall seeing a man being married to a tree, a book, or a prayer mat. But but that's a gendering that needs to be resolved. Um, so she was married to the prayer mat, and she would always be on it, praying and cleaning, and taking good care of it. Um, and my mother was telling me that one time somebody said the word accommodate in front of her, and after that person who said it left, my mum's aunt asked my grandfather or whoever was close by, like, what's what does accommodate mean? What did that word mean? And they tell her, well, it means this. Okay, accommodate. Okay, accommodate. And she store it in her memory. Not that she was speaking English every day, but she kept the word. When she didn't understand it, she asked for it and she took it and made it her own. So my mother used to always say, even today, she says, memorize words you hear. But here is not the only sense to use. If you see something and you don't know what it is, pick it up. Um, this didn't happen too much to my younger brother because he grew up in the 90s. But the other three of us, when we would be traveling by car, and my father would be driving, my mother would be at the front. If we were passing through a shopping district or a business district or anywhere, whether it's a bus station or it's a depot or it's a plant or whatever, we were encouraged to look out of the window and read the names of stores, of depots, of tanks, of plants, of everything, um, and ask about it and talk about it. And when we would get back from the trip, my mother would say, if we were faffing about or if we weren't well behaved, she'd say, okay, so where did you go just now? And we'd say, oh, we went to that city. Uh huh. What did you see on the way there? And we'd, I saw nothing. Oh, really? So how was this hour of your life productive? And we'd say, productive? Who cares about productive? I'm a child. And she said, no, 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 no. Productivity is not temporal. It doesn't come and go. To be an efficient, competitive, successful, all these positive qualities, you need to be very mindful of your time. And one of the ways to do that, particularly as a child, but even as a grown up, is to be mindful of your surroundings. A lesson that I'll discuss maybe next week. And one way to do that is to look around and see what is there. I have a very good friend. His name is Usman Sami. Shout out to Usman Sami. One of the things that I really admire about Usman Sami is that I've met him in Lahore, I've met him in Ankara, and wherever he goes, he makes it a point to know where the best meat is being sold, where the best tailors are, what buses to take, and he's always well aware of wherever he goes. I haven't cultivated that habit as much as he has. Most people tend to look for solutions when they have a problem. This gentleman, this friend of mine, he looks for solutions just to keep in his pocket. If the problem arises, he doesn't need to look for them. And I copied a bit of that from him. And now I know, okay, if I need to go rock climbing, I can go here. If I need to go to the gym, I need to go here. If I need to do this, I need to go here. I'm gaining a bit of it, but it's still not as good as him or what my mother does. And that's incredibly necessary to be so mindful of what's going on. But also, it trains the child to develop the capacity for retrieval and recall. So she would ask us, so what did you see? And we'd say, and then when we were mindful, we'd say, well, I saw this, I saw that, I saw this. And she said, interesting. What do you think that store does? So if it was an optician's and we wouldn't know at a young age, we'd say, oh, I don't know what an optician's does. Well, your father's an ophthalmologist, and opticians manufactures or prepares the glasses that your father prescribes. And we say, oh, interesting. And so forth. So much so that it started happening that we'd see something and we'd say, Mom, what is that? Or Dad, what is that? And they'd be driving and they'd say, oh, yeah, that's this, that's that. Oh, let me tell you a funny story about once I went in there. And that developed your knowledge as well. So it's incredibly useful to memorize things or to see things and try to retain them when you see them. But it's also important for when you hear them, like my mother's aunt, not just to develop your vocabulary, but also to develop your mental capacities. Rote memorization is I don't know if it is the best method. I was raised by it, not just at home, but also in school, and I also memorized parts of the Quran. Rote memorization works. But my mum always used to say, don't rote, try gota, it says in Urdu, which means that absorb it. Don't repeat it, absorb it. And her distinction here, which was only metaphorical, I think, because literally I don't know how it makes sense. Uh, Absorption in her regard meant understanding and memorizing. So absorb the knowledge and the information. So absorptive capacity of farms, as we say, is the ability to take knowledge and utilize it, as opposed to just the memorization. I think that's what she would be indicating if I asked her about it today. So she would say all of that, like read it, understand it, and then memorize it. If you hear it, ask about it. Isn't that an incredibly necessary skill? You hear something and you ask about it. And like, you said this word, facilitate. What does it mean? Well, it means this. Huh. So can I say blah, 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 facilitated, blah, blah, blah? Yes, you can. Interesting. And your knowledge base increases, but not only your knowledge base, your ability to think critically increases because you took the word that somebody else used and now you're trying to place it in your own sentences. Moreover, your social skills increase because you can just sit and listen to somebody, go home and open the dictionary and understand it and then forget about it. But no, you engage the other person into saying, "Well, what you just use that word? What does that mean?" And when they explain it, now you're part of a dialogue, which, as a 5-year-old speaking to a 35-year-old, is a great bonus because that 35-year, like if I'm sitting next to my nieces, some of whom are 7, 6, 4, 3, 1, if they're hearing me speak to my father about something and I say something and they say, "Baba, what does that mean?" I look at them and I'll explain it to them. I would try to explain it to them. If they hadn't asked me that question, I'd just be, well, okay, 5-year-old, 6-year-old playing, none of my business. All I have to do is protect her or him from hurting themselves. That's it. But now we have a different engagement. Now we are engaging with our minds and our sounds and voices, our ideas. A 5-year-old is having the benefit of engaging with a 35-year-old. All of this was packed into this. If you hear something, memorize it and ask about it, learn it. That's a great lesson, which I even do today. My English is quite good. I've spoken it for so long and written in it, and I can write quite well. Um, when somebody uses a word and I don't understand it and I can't extrapolate what it means by understanding the context, I ask them at once. Uh, one of the uh, one of the people I was speaking to, I think they used the term soliloquy, soliloquy, and they said, "Oh, blah blah blah, soliloquy," and I said, "Sorry, say that again." And they said it again. And I said, what do you mean by soliloquy?" And they'd say, "Oh, I simply mean this." And I said, "Oh, okay. Oh, so it's another word for that. Okay, fair enough." Words help you understand different perspectives of seeing the world because even at this age you have a foundational understanding of the world. I would say I have more than a foundational one. Different words provide different perspectives of the same thing. So if I say something is gigantic as opposed to something is enormous or something is massive or huge or large or big, they all have similar yet distinct meanings. Gigantic literally means like giant or of giant, parallel, adjacent. Um, but enormous could be something else. enormity, enormous, massive, to have mass. So all words have similar, like even synonyms have similar but slightly distinct meanings. And to train your brain to focus on that and to pick them and question people about it and memorize them is a great mental, cognitive, but also a great social skill, because it helps you engage with people beyond simple pleasantries. But it happens even in Turkish, happens in French. Like I hear something because now I've started picking up on more and more French because I live in Montreal, and I've started understanding quite a few words, quite a few. Um, and when people say them, I sometimes repeat them to copy them, and eventually I'll be fluent in the language, maybe within a year or two. Um, but one of the best things is if they say something, I say, well, you said you said that, is does it mean this? And they say, no, it means this, or they say similar. So rather than saying, oh, what does that mean, you can always say, what do you mean by that, or do you mean this? So much so that two of my closest friends here are from Lebanon, a lovely married couple, who eventually I'll have on the show soon. Um, and and I can read Arabic. I can recite parts of the Quran. That's about it. I can't. Everyday Arabic is beyond me. But some, because I'm around them and picking up on tonalities and pauses and um, inflections, I've started picking up on things they say. So they say something in Arabic to the waiter, for example, and I ask them, uh, did you say this? And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. And they say, no, no, we said that. And I say, oh, but I heard this. Yeah, but when we use it here, it means this. Look at how my brain is developing. Look at how it's trying to pick up on all the angles of understanding something. That is incredibly necessary. That is not an activity that is only reserved for the children of the world. We are constant works in progress all the time. We are always growing, and I think this is one of the skills that contributes to that. So, memorize words you see or hear, and try to think critically about them. And if you have the chance, engage the person who said them, so you can develop your understanding. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful week.